Joining us now, however, is Reverend Allan Boesak. He spoke at Archbishop Desmond Tutu's birthday Eucharist service at St George Cathedral earlier this year. He joins us now live. Reverend, thank you so much for your time. A moment certainly in this country's history marking the passing of the Archbishop, a day that perhaps for many South Africans we knew was coming, but now that it's here, it's certainly still a shock to our systems. Talk to us about your reflections on the man that was the Archbishop.
Well, thank you very much for this opportunity. It really doesn't matter how long we have been prepared, knowing that the Archbishop was ill and that illness was not getting any better. But still, when the moment comes, it still is a shock, because you are now confronted with this final truth that voice will not be heard again. Those warnings against what was going on that was wrong will not be heard again. The admonitions to go the right way will not be heard again. The hope that was his whole life in his voice, in his eyes, in his body, whenever he spoke, that hope will never be expressed in that way again. It is a truly devastating day for us as South Africans.
Indeed. Very somber sentiments there, Reverend, about how a lot of what the Archbishop stood for, the voice of reason that he was, is likely something that South Africans will never hear again. But much of the morning has been filled with the question of how we honor that voice of reason. How do we as South Africans moving forward, as difficult as it is, do we honor the fact that here was a man who stood up against injustice in whatever form it came, whether it was political injustice, whether it was injustice in the health sector, whether it was injustice when it came to sexism or racism or discrimination of any kind. How do we honor that memory?
Well, we honor that memory by taking up that struggle, by realizing that Desmond Tutu died when that struggle was far from over, that Desmond Tutu died not in the country that he had fought for, but in an alien country where those injustices are still part of our lives every day, where corruption is rife, where government knows no responsibility or accountability to its people, where almost every promise that they make is a lie, and the people have to walk on the broken glass of their promises. And so that's the one thing that we have to keep in mind. If Desmond Tutu could speak today, he would say to us, this struggle is not over. Please do not mourn so long for me that you forget to mobilize, to bring our people together. Don't mourn for me to the extent that you forget that there is still so much that we must do. And I think the best way to honor him is to respond to that voice that will still be ringing out to us, to make us and keep us responsible for the proper and the real and the genuine transformation of South Africa. And so I'm thinking and I'm hoping that if God would give us a gift in the line of Desmond Tutu, is that there would be thousands and thousands of young Desmond Tutus rising up today to stand for what he stood and to fight for what he fought for, so that nobody in this country would be left open and vulnerable, that all would participate in a country that he thought would be the greatest gift that we could give the world. And that's a country run by justice, as Mpilo said, to finally give South Africa that human face that our people and our country deserve. So if that is what we take away from his life, I think the Archbishop would be happy where he is today.
Indeed, Reverend, thank you so much for that, sharing sentiments that we've certainly heard throughout the morning.